charity. She's bringing people together. She's sharing the messages of people. It's spiritual. It's a huge path because she's already changed the world many times over.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
That was
again. Thank you
great.
so much for being here today again with us and to share your wisdom and insights on what is clearly a fascinating topic. Everybody wants to know about it, and I'm definitely one of the converted, having experienced the illumination process myself. And I'm not going to share that with anyone listening today because I feel that this is something that you've really got to experience for yourself and see for yourself and feel the feelings that I felt. And I don't want to spoil it, and that's why I'm not going to share it. But I believe that there is a whole generation of people that are starting to open up to this grand new way of illuminating oneself and seeing the world from a very different perspective. And that's what we're going to talk to Lumari about today. So Lumari's released a book, and this book is fascinating. I slept so soundly that night when I discovered it. And so I really want to talk about your new book first, if that's okay, Lumari.
I would love to.
Okay. What is it called?
So the book is called Streams of Consciousness.
Right.
And ta-da.
So for those who haven't seen it before, that's the wonderful one.
And it's about the frequencies that the divine and her, quote unquote, her emissaries, the masters of the streams, created for humanity. There's 12 different streams, and they're vibrational vortexes that connect you directly with the divine, but also connect you with higher aspects of your own being. And people resonate with different energies. We can see it. We know people who are compatible like immediately with us, and then we know people who is like, I don't get that. And it's not like there's anything wrong. It's just like there is something perplexing about how someone is and how they relate. And so the first part of the book describes to you what these streams of energy are, because they're high vibrational vortexes, which you can connect with yourself on this planet and connect with the divine, and then continue to open and open and open to be illuminated to your higher self, to your, because higher self, it's like, and then your higher self,
Okay,
and then your higher self.
Let's take it back a step for those people who have never thought of or learned of the spirituality and the being of connecting to the higher self. When we talk about the vortex, what specifically is a vortex?
Okay, so anybody who's watched any science fiction movies, you know that you go in, because they are explaining it, but they're explaining it in science fiction, right?
Right.
But there's an energy field that you go into. And instead of everything feeling or being exactly the way it always is, you notice something energetically, vibrationally. So some people feel chills, some people feel relief, some people feel like joy that they can't contain themselves in. Some people start to understand things and connect in ways that they haven't experienced before. And that's an energy shift. And so a vortex is kind of like a stream of energy that is shifting. And these are in higher levels. So you can go into, like beam me up, Scotty. But you're still here, but you're feeling those energies that change things for you.
Right. And that, I suppose, is what we call attunement. And attuning to your frequency is what you get from attuning to the vortex that is encompassing you.
Yes. Okay. And I like to call it a stream of consciousness, because that way you understand that there's a stream. It is aware. It's not a random energy. It is aware. You're aligned with it. It's aligned with you. So there's no disconnect. it's a bigger connection.
Okay. And do you feel it like vibrationally, sound wise, or do different people have different interpretations of, of what they think they seeing, feeling, etc.?
Yes. And that's what's so exciting about it,
Right.
is because even when we're all resonating or feeling the same energies, we experience it differently.
Okay.
So for me, I experience everything multidimensionally. I always have. So, I mean, even to the point when I have connected with people and we're doing sessions, I mean, it's not just that I see somebody from the other world or an angel or what, I can smell things. Like this, I can see colors, I feel energy, and so do they.
Right.
And so what's wonderful about that is, like, when you know personally, and you may have more than one, when you know personally what you feel, like if you know that when you feel tingles, something's happening. If you know when you feel a huge emotion in your body, something's happening. If you all of a sudden see colors or spots or stars flying all over the place, or what, you know that there's a shift there. And sometimes people just feel like, oh, finally. And they don't even know what that finally is, but it is totally, oh, ha, because they've come right into who they are, and the discord seems to dissipate.
Right. So I'm going to take us a step back again and talk about soul's path. Like, to empower yourself, your soul has to go through some form of awakening. Now, where do most people oscillate or operate? In what level are they operating? Maslow had a hierarchy of needs, okay, and he calls them, the state of where you need to start to begin. What's that beginning place called?
Well, I don't really have a name for it, but I would say that the recognition that you are aware is stage one, if we're going to say stages. Okay. Right? Meaning that you can feel that you're present and that there's something bigger. Mm-hmm. That's it. And some people will look at it in more narrow classic ways, and some people are in exploration. In the world we're in right now, there's so many more millions and billions of people who are in exploration. Right. They're not memorizing the past, right, however it's formatted, but they're really in experience because they know that there's something bigger that they don't know. And that is the most brilliant thing for all of us. Right. There is something bigger that you don't know.
And curiosity killed the cat. I'm a bit worried about that. So, what some people might be afraid to look at it, and it's that fear that holds them back. What would you say to someone who's feeling the fear?
I would say, instead of just looking at curiosity, I would look at joyful curiosity. All right. So do it this way, not like rip it apart and see what's in the box and, somebody sent me the wrong thing from Amazon, right? Yeah. But it's like, ooh, oh, this is really cool. What's this? Oh, I don't know why it's making me feel good, but like, I feel joy. I feel excitement. I feel curiosity here, right? And that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, so I've heard and I've read and I've seen that streams of consciousness is a mind-altering, heart-opening, awakening journey to the cosmos and your divine nature in our world.
Yes.
Explain that in your words.
Okay. So I know. Well, when you think of the divine, and this is something that is me. So anybody that doesn't agree with me, I'm totally cool with that. The divine knows more than we do. So we can't actually say what the divine is. Okay. We can say what we experience or what we've been taught, but we can't say what it is because it's way bigger than this can ever imagine. Right. No science can describe it. They might try and they might get us further along in understanding certain things. It's huge. Mm-hmm. When you look at something that encompasses everything and then created everything and then was there before everything and had the brilliant idea to create everything, yeah, okay. You can't put that in a box.
Right,
So when
exactly.
you talk about connecting with the cosmos, you have a personal connection with what that divine energy is. Like you are now open in your own way to connect with that. And then as you learn more about you, you know where you want to play.
And is this available to anyone?
Yes.
How?
Okay. Well, one thing is you really want to start focusing, and however learning looks like to you is learning. So there's so many different ways to meditate, and there's so many different ceremonies you can do, and there's so many different practices you can do on your own to explore, right? Like when I like to write, I write with the vibrations of what I'm talking about, so that when you're reading streams of consciousness, the vibration of the streams is in it. So as you're reading about a particular stream, you start to feel the energy of that. You will know, one, if it's the one you've always been waiting for and you didn't, it's like, oh, I'm home, or, I know about this. I've been in circumstances, or I know people who feel like this, right? And then as you continue and you shift your energy, and there's millions of different ways to do that too, but as you shift, things clear, you open, you tune into it, and then there's more possible. There is healing that goes on for you, awareness that goes on for you, that and and those things, it's really important for all of us to recognize, since the divine is never ending, so are we.
Right. Do you think that we've lost our connection to the divine as human beings? Do you think that we've so caught up in what's going on in the world, the COVID situation, that for many people they've lost that connection to the divine?
I don't think it's a lost connection. I think it is a blocked participation.
Right.
So the rhetoric,
Hmm.
the fear, the control, they block your participation because you have decided, I'm not paying attention to this. I'm only going to focus here.
I think that that's a lot to do with conditioning too. I mean, we're conditioned not to look at it. We're conditioned not to think about it. We're conditioned to look at certain ways in which academia has taught us to do certain things, how society has programmed us, and and I'm speaking from a personal point of view too, because I remember as a young boy, and I think I've told you this story before. As a young boy, I was, I used to look at people and see these brilliant lights and colors around people. And I was to say to my mom, that person's color's not right. And she would say, shh, don't say that, don't say that. You can tell me, but don't tell anybody else because they get freaked out by that.
Yes,
And
yes.
true, people would just like look at me strangely thinking, well, you know, that's a strange thing for a young boy to say. Um, so I remember thinking to myself, I must not share that part of me with anyone
Yes,
else.
yes,
Um, Yet it's a very integral part of being in the human experience.
yeah. And some people actually don't see or feel or intuit like that.
Right.
They have what we would say is a more basic,
Mhm.
like they have their gut feelings,
Mhm.
they follow certain things, but they're not actually having the bigger experience. So
Okay.
your perception, which you still have, but you kind of closed it off for a period of time, right, was like, oh, you can see the auras around people and what's moving and what isn't. And you were smart enough to actually be able to interpret whether their aura was actually good or if there was something wrong that was happening,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So not everybody's going to see that. Just like when I was young, I had conversations all the time. I thought that's how our brain worked.
Mhm.
I thought that if you had a question, you just asked and your mind answered you. And it brought in different people and beings to answer the questions. I did not know. I was channeling until I was in college. I just thought everybody, no, you ask the question and you get the answer, right? And then you ask again and you have a conversation. No, no. But some other people that may be listening now or that you encounter in your life, it's like they don't know they have that gift. They don't know that when they walk into a room and they go, oh, I don't know if I should be here. Like they're picking up the energy in the room.
Right.
You know, and most of us aren't trained to do that.
No, no. But most people have experienced it. Okay. So for example,
Yes.
you've heard people talk about, and she walked into the room and all heads turned.
Yes.
What are they seeing when they see that? What are they feeling? They're feeling that stream of consciousness of a person that is in tune with, I guess, what would you call it?
Well, I think they're in tune with themselves and they're in tune with the divine.
Right.
So, and we have all of these different levels, which I like. I don't like the one answer, right? Right? Like it never did. Like,
I'm trying to bring the multi-dimensional Lumari to the few of us that are still one-dimensional here, Lumari. So
put him over here. Put him over here. And so, but we are all connected. We're connected directly to the divine. You always were. You always will be. Okay. Whether you're in a body or you beam out and go traveling, and then you might decide to come back, or you might decide that there's a cruise out there that you like better. Yeah. And you're going to go there. That's your soul's journey. Right. To explore and experience and learn and contribute. So that's the other part. We wouldn't be here if we didn't want to contribute.
Right, exactly. And that's really leading me up to my next question about purpose. A lot of people will go through life saying, I never knew what my purpose was, or they leave this plane and they get asked the question, you know, was Earth all it was meant to be? And they have complaints, they have issues to talk about, and my mother didn't do this, and my father didn't do that, and you know, and but you know, this is God's big earth, you know. Yes. You know, and or whatever it is to you, and there is a place and a time for everything. But if you're looking for your purpose, it is really about tuning into the streams of consciousness. Am I right?
And tuning into yourself. Well, the streams of consciousness help you connect with the divine, which opens you to your path, to your soul's journey, to your purpose. And then you get to create and explore. So for me, I feel that everybody who comes to this planet, even if they're totally clueless, they fulfill their purpose. Okay. It's just not their bigger purpose. Right. It's not their engagement. You came here to do X, Y, and Z. You were born with these people. You did this, and then you popped out. So that's basic. Right. Right. And I want to say it because I'm doing it simple, but no life is wasted here. You made a difference, whether you knew the difference you were making or not.
Wow, that's
now
profound.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it is in a way. And so now everybody listening can take a deep breath. Okay, cool. I'm already doing it, right? But then there's the bigger, right? Then there's like, oh, all right, yeah, I came to heal some wounds from my past, to open up to new things, to explore over here, and to help this group. But wait, there's something bigger. And that's when you start to tune in, you know, all of the things that we talked about with enlightenment and moving into the streams of consciousness and opening your awareness. Now you can go on a bigger journey. It's your higher purpose. It opens you up to more. Right. So you might look at it and giving you like a very specific, in the world example. You own a bakery. Everybody in the neighborhood knows you got the best baked goods there. And that's your purpose. You're feeding your community, and they love it and you love them. And then all of a sudden you go, you know what? I think I'm going to take all the teenagers in the neighborhood and have an apprentice program, because I'm not going to have a bakery for the rest of my life. I'm going to teach them how to bake. So they can do it at home. They can open their own bakeries. I don't care. If they want to create a co-op later when I'm ready to leave, I'll give them the bakery. Right. Okay, that's a bigger purpose.
Right.
Than what you originally started with.
But getting there sometimes, getting to the bigger vision or getting beyond what you're supposed to be doing and living right now is a process of tapping into something. How do you start?
Okay. So I would say really and truly start with what brings your joy and inspiration together.
Okay. In other words, do what you love.
Do what you love, but also do what you love in something that actually inspires you. So inspiration is divine energy that opens you. If you're an artist, if you're a creator, if you develop software, any of those things, you're inspired and things start coming in and you start, ooh, that's how musicians work. That's how writers work. All of that inspiration, that's how people who create new communities work. Something comes in, it opens them up, and it is joyful and exciting. Now you want to be open to the inspiration, not like, yeah, I'll never be able to do that. That's a whole other, that's more emotional, right? As opposed to, but that's where we play. And every human on this planet has been inspired at least 10 times.
So do you shut it down when you say I'm not open to the inspiration?
Yes.
Does it shut down forever? Or can it? Okay.
You will get snippets, but the thing is, if you don't pay attention, then you have wasted a message.
I certainly relate to that, because in the advertising business that we run here too, what I find is that during the creative process, we get sent a whole lot of campaigns, a whole lot of ideas, and usually it's at 3 a.m. when we don't need it, because creativity doesn't have a 9-to-5 job. It doesn't tell you.
No.
So you put it out to the universe. I need this campaign for this client and this purpose, and you can sometimes sit for days with nothing. And then inspiration strikes, like I said, at 3 a.m. in the morning or at some really random hour, and literally all hands on deck to get the campaign out, because if you do not put it down, it goes back into it goes back into the ether. It goes back, like I keep telling our creatives, it goes back into the ether, and some other creative is going to get that campaign. And and we've proved it a couple of times where we've come up with an idea and pushed it aside, and then watched a competitor product come up with the same idea and use it. And so does the divine circulate ideas?
Yes. It's so when you get inspired, when that idea comes, and it's not the process, this, but it's not the process of working it out. It's the process of ta-da, right? It comes in, and then it's like, right? This is the divine saying, darling, listen to me for a minute. I got something for you. And then, and then if you go, no, wait. Can I put you on hold for a minute?
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you very much for calling. Have a nice day. I'm off to the next person. Right?
Right.
You can tell I have a sense of humor about all of this. And I also wrote a book about inspiration. It's called Living Inspired with Lumari. So if you really want to deep dive into what inspiration is, you can read that book. It's a blast. But when we're talking about like the streams of consciousness and moving into, so the other thing about inspiration, which will help you in your company as well as everybody else listening, never ignore it. always write it down to the best of your ability.
Okay.
And then check and ask, is this mine to do?
Mhm.
The biggest question you're going to ask after you get that is this mine to do?
Right.
And then if it's yes, and then you go, now? Because some things you actually getting the inspiration, but it really needs to be worked on.
Right.
And then some things it's like, are you kidding me? Of course now.
Right.
Right?
Of course. So it's one thing to get given the visions, get given the inspiration. It's another thing to take massive action to push it
Yes,
towards a place in which it becomes productive for you and your community, your family, whatever the case may be, your
exactly.
planet. But let's talk
Yeah.
about the planet. Let's talk about some of the visionary leaders that are transforming our world and the vibrations that they're operating at. How do they awaken their higher soul calling and move themselves into that sacred resonance?
Well, what's wonderful about it is we really all are different.
Mm.
So you can look at certain people who are, thought of really truly as spiritual leaders. And I'm separating out religious leaders, and I'm only talking about spiritual leaders.
Like
And 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 you can like, they got the biggest books out there, they got a huge following, they're really making a difference in the world. And some of them, it totally was like the divine connection went in, and they went, oh, I totally didn't see that. The transformation happens, enlightenment and all the other things that we can call it occurs, and it completely shifts their lower frequencies to a higher level.
Okay.
For other people, they have looked at it and they have been given, and inspirationally, a path to follow.
Mm.
So it's not like, oh, all at once everything shifts, but they've been given a path.
Mhm.
Follow this, explore this. Here's more information. Here's more openings. Here's more ways to communicate that. So we would be looking at certain people, right? And their message comes through in a certain way because they're following that path, which is different.
So, would you say then that visionary leaders are here to do a job?
Well, if we call it that, yes.
Yeah. Okay, what would you say they're here to do?
But I don't know. I don't know what the compensation package is for that, though.
I guess
Inwardly it is.
yeah, I guess inwardly it is because they're I consider someone like Oprah to be one of those kind of visionary leaders
Oh, definitely.
that has certainly transformed the way we look at the world and has
Yes.
made us ask the questions that for many of us just didn't think to ask anymore. So put her bigger vision into perspective. She's living right now what we should all be doing, and that is connecting with the divine at every opportunity, to see what is it that we are meant to bring to this world.
Yes. And if you look at it, and I'm not specifically saying she resonates with this stream,
Mhm.
right? But if you look at how she is, aside from being brilliant,
Mhm.
and aside from being spiritually open and aware, and absolutely not separated from any particular spiritual path that is bigger
Mhm.
and not dogmatic, right? If you look at how she is, she resonates with the stream of compassion. She is heart-based.
Right.
Everything she's looking at, every way she's sharing, she's creating community, she's creating charity, she's bringing people together, she's sharing the messages of people. It's spiritual. It's a huge path because she's already changed the world many times over, and it's heart-based. Now, everything does not have to be heart-based. So you don't want to judge when somebody's so brilliant that their intellectual vibration changes the world just by thinking,
Mhm.
and it doesn't make you weep. It makes you go, right? There's no right or wrong there, but you can see when you follow her what's heart-based there.
So Steve Jobs had this kind of, I would say he had, they call it the reality distortion field. Okay, because
Ooh,
he was able to bend people's reality, like literally tell people they could do things when they couldn't. When they knew their training had taught them, their knowledge, their education, their experience, even on some level, had taught them that something could not be done, he would say, well, of course it can be done. You just haven't tried hard enough.
yes,
And influence people to do things on a greater scale, over and over and over again, which led to some of Apple's products being some of the best in the world.
yes,
That reality distortion field is something that, you know, I'm keen to explore through the streams of consciousness and the various ways in which we access the divine, because I believe that on some level he was accessing his own special force,
oh yes,
which then resonated from him. Now, you said something earlier which kind of alluded to that, and that was when you were writing, you were engaging with the streams of consciousness, so that even when you read your book, you
yeah,
felt or you would feel what you needed to feel by reading the book.
yes,
That's your own special reality distortion,
yes,
okay?
yes. Oh, I like that. I like that.
So can anyone embrace this? And like you said, does it have a role on effect? So, you know, beyond you, does this create your immortal self is the question.
Well, we already are our immortal selves, but now I'm going to say it this way, where you play there is a whole other thing.
Right.
Meaning that when you create bigger, when you receive more, when you open up to greater perceptions, greater connection, you're changing that and expanding it.
Okay.
So earlier when you talked about, oh, she walked in the room and all heads turned, that woman was beaming,
Right.
right? We can all do that.
Right.
We can all do that. Because when you
Not just for the
hold,
privileged few, like most people think.
no,
Yep.
no. And you can see that. And not everyone wants all heads to turn when they walk in the room.
Right.
Not everybody wants to be on Oprah,
Yeah.
you know, on her platform, on her stage. Not everybody wants to address the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody wants to be president of whatever country it is. Right?
Agreed.
We want to have influence in ways that are in harmony with who we are.
That's a lovely way.
And so, yeah. And so it's with all of the conversation about all the different things, we know like there's a scientific conversation about it, that if you influence one thing, you influence everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know the more we influence in a positive way, the more the ripple becomes the waves of enlightenment.
Right.
You know that.
Okay.
10,000 years ago, humanity on this planet could not imagine where we're playing right now.
No. 20 years ago, we couldn't imagine where we were.
It's true.
I mean, there's been such a shift in technology, such a shift in medicine that, you know, already I just read something that was sent to me recently to say that the person who has turned 40 years old in 2021 will now live to 130 years old.
Wow.
So that's telling us that technology and medicine has improved to such a level that we are able to prolong and, you know, the lifespan of the human race. You know, we're able to push people to a level that where their physical bodies will have longevity.
Yes.
But to me, I see there is a balancing act in that. You can be that person that's going to live till 130, but your emotional state, your life force has also got to balance with the physical needs, and attuning yourself to the streams of consciousness And the wisdom of the divine and the energies that come with it is going to be a huge part
Yes.
in playing at that level, playing at that physical level. But there are different streams of consciousness. I know there are 12 of them. Um, let's talk a little bit about those streams of consciousness and how they're special for engaging the physical
Yeah.
with the higher source of the divine.
Well, it's a very interesting conversation also, because what is really lucky for us and what you're talking about is, I'll just say, if that's true, and the people who are 40 years old right now can live there, then I almost feel like we want to train them to teach their people, their family, their kids, et cetera, like, what are the good things?
Right.
Like, how to let go of fear and control and embrace your higher being and see what you can do. Because you could imagine if we could do that. And it is possible.
Okay.
It's just the shifts in consciousness. We talked about enlightenment and all of those other things, right? But you can imagine if we shifted, or if they shifted, right?
Yes.
They're going to live a long
We're
time.
talking about the generations to come. The generations to come have got a whole different set of circumstances that they're going to be living in. Up to 60% of the world's workforce will be lost to artificial intelligence. What are these people going to do besides think?
Well, and the thing is the flip side of that is we have more entrepreneurs now than ever.
Right.
Because they're coming up with, I'm just there as entrepreneurs, coming up with new ideas for things.
Correct.
And so yes, some of it's really good news. You probably don't want to be the one who digs the sewer. Probably not. Right? But, and some people, it's like they still want to have a handcrafted house. Well, good. You don't have to have the house building robot. You can have craftspeople who do it. There's still going to be artists who are doing glass blowing. So you don't have to worry about the factory stuff that comes out. But we're continually evolving there. So imagine what we can create that we don't even know is going to be a blessing for us.
Agreed.
I mean,
that artificial intelligence can't do is imagine. That is human creativity.
yes.
And I was talking to someone earlier and I said to them, imagine then what you can do when a lot of the mundane stuff is taken care of. The house cleaning is done, the putting the trash out is done. There's a robot that takes care of that. And we're now looking at building the planet for a better future for the generations to come. Imagine what you can do then. And the question came back was, well, where am I going to learn to awaken my soul path then? And I said,
well, the divine hasn't gone off anywhere. Right? It's not like, oh, you guys have handled it, I'm moving on now. The divine is in everything. So
you got it taped. See you later.
Exactly. No, really, guys, like, you know what? I was been thinking about retirement, and since Earth still spins, I mean, I'm cool, right? But see, we are continually evolving. And then there is something that I'm going to say something new. We're going to call it conscious evolving.
Right.
Which is you have an awareness, an intention, and a pursuit of conscious involvement, meaning, all right, we're looking at this. Yeah, you think that's a good idea to build that, but the resources that it's going to use, and since we can't recycle it, and et cetera, that might be a good idea, but the way you're going to do it is not a good idea. It's not sustainable.
Right.
Let's come up with something else. That's conscious. The way you're teaching children makes them feel inferior if they don't get a good grade. We need to do another way of teaching the same thing, because they still need to learn math. But maybe if we present it like this, that's conscious evolving. That's what we're here to do.
Well, the future is certainly unpredictable, and it certainly got us in a vibration and lifting us to changes that in my lifetime I never thought I would see possible. There was a time where I used to say, I can see the future 10 years ahead, and know with great predictability what the technology changes would be, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But I see that the energies are changing, the evolutionary wisdom is changing, the divine energies are changing. What kind of attunement do people who are involved in these vibrational fields, how are they going to be able to teach this to others? Do you have a program that does something like that at the
Well,
moment?
I am actually in development of 2 programs right now.
Right.
And so one is a program specifically for leaders to
Right.
be able to bring this into their community and help their staff, organization, community understand and distinguish between each of the streams of consciousness and awareness there, so they can relate in a whole other way and create in a way that's in harmony.
Right.
And then I'm also creating something for people who just want to get in that vibe and know whether they feel themselves like a true leader or a smaller leader, right?
Right.
To
And
be
I
able
guess
to play that, because we're all leaders.
we're all leaders. That's a that's a great. Now let's go back to the streams of consciousness.
Yes.
What are the 12?
Okay. So the streams of consciousness are, all right, here we go. I have to read them. Sorry. So we have this, I know it's bad, isn't it? We have the stream of purity, the stream of honor, the stream of compassion, the stream of neutrality, the stream of harmony, the stream of beauty and grace, the stream of wisdom, the stream of truth, the stream of radiance, the stream of reciprocity, the stream of universality, and the stream of unity.
Awesome. Now let's move back again or shift back to the corporate side that we've just been talking about, and how does this apply to a corporate situation?
So if we're looking at a corporation and the dynamics of leadership in corporations are actually changing, which is amazing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when most people, no matter what the great idea was for the corporation, most people look at corporations and they know it's like controlling money and that's about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, but now that's shifting. So people in corporations, when you're working in the board of directors, there are going to be people on the board of directors who do not have that. They don't get compassion. They don't get it.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that they think people who are compassionate are wrong. They actually don't vibrate to compassion.
Right.
They might vibrate to wisdom. If you vibrate to wisdom, when you're looking at code, you're lit up. Oh my God, when you're looking at like books and what's written and the teachings of humanity, you're like crazy. You want to do that. And so you're not necessarily resonating with that. So when you're on the board, then the leader, the CEO, or the team can look and go, okay, we need to shift and bring in more compassion in how we address this. We need to step back from being just this and that. And let's start resonating with the stream of honor for everybody in our company. Let's honor them. Right. How are we going to bring honor into every single person, whether they're in the shipping room or they're designing new products? How do we honor them?
Most leaders that I've encountered consider themselves in 2 very distinct groups. Either they're a transactional leader, which is the one that's following the money. I would say Tim Cook of Apple would be that kind of a leader right now. He's very transactional, he's operational, he sees things in very delineated lines and boxes that he places people into, and his operation efficiency is phenomenal, which is how he got the job in the first place. And then you look at someone like Steve Jobs, who was more of a visionary leader. he
Yes.
considers himself to be a transformational leader. So he's
Yes.
more of a, he's going to transform the organization, transform the products, transform the service, transform the way retail is done. That was his role. He was there as a transformational leader. And most
Right.
leaders that I know operate between those two frequencies and nothing more.
Right.
Because they haven't had or haven't been told there are other streams of consciousness you can tap into.
Right. And see, and even if they're not, right, even if, for example, even if the head of the corporation needs to have one of those roles, let's say one of those roles is the most important, then everybody else on the team has to fulfill the other roles. Then you have a holistic community that serves everybody in the corporation gets served. And everybody who's in line with the corporation, meaning what you buy or what services you use, they get served.
Right. Okay. And I guess though, when I look at sort of and I'm calling it mind altering, heart opening, awakening journey that you go through with the streams of consciousness, I see that there are more levels to just being transactional or transformational. I see that,
Oh, yeah.
that we're activating bigger visions. We're activating very powerful ways in which you are looking at your bigger vision and looking at beyond what you're doing and living. And it's not just about creating the products and services that fulfill the mighty dollar. It's now about creating the products and services that fulfill the longevity and sustainability of the planet.
Yes.
And
And isn't that cool?
isn't that cool?
I mean, it's like, so like old school.
Yeah.
And we have to uplift all the people, not you and I personally, but generally speaking,
Yes.
lift the people who have those, like, no, I want a job, I like digging coal, I know how to go in the coal mine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have to be able to, human wise, say, okay, listen, we're not doing coal anymore. Let me train you to do something else. And oh, by the way, it doesn't have a pollution risk and it won't hurt your body either, but we'll still give you X, Y, and Z and take care of your family.
Right.
Well, that person isn't going to protest like coal is it. It's not the coal, it's like what they have learned how to do to support themselves and also feel expert.
Right.
So now when we're looking at what corporations can do, we can look at it and go, okay, because I love Apple too. So we look at Apple and go, okay, you changed how we talk to each other, right? The iPhone is like the queen, right? Like the products and how the screens are and everything. I mean, it's like crazy, right? You can do now with an iPhone with the camera and the video on the iPhone is really almost Hollywood quality.
Right.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, La La Land was created on an iPhone. So
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we can do that, then think of, if I'm just making this up, right? But if we look at the corporations and they go, okay, we're going to take this on. So not only are we creating products that support the vision that we have, that is going to, whatever the product or solution is going to do this, but we're going to move bigger. We're going to take the people that work with us and uplift the level of their life, but also we're going to address sustainability. We're going to look at it and say, you know what? We can't do this part anymore, or we're going to be 100% recycled. I mean, I don't know how to do any of this, right? But we're going to be 100% recycled. And what our job is now is not only to create these products, but we're getting the plastic out of the ocean and we're going to figure out something cool to do with it.
Right.
So all of a sudden we're having a whole, like a cycle of awareness,
right,
where each of the streams and everybody in the corporation gets to open up and go, okay, like, yes, we know you're proficient in this narrowness, but what if? What if?
So coming back to the transactional, transformational leaders,
Mhm.
imagine if you had a team that connected with all of the 12 streams of consciousness. Imagine if you had a team that knew how to directly interact with the divine to bring you the products and services of tomorrow. What would that do for you? What would that create, and what would that make your business for tomorrow? That is something that you've got to speak to Lumari about and discover all the systems that she has in place that are going to change the way you work as a corporation, that are going to change the way you as a person start to think and dream and live your bigger vision, for a new, unrecognizable future, an unpredictable future that we have coming up. Lumari, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us here today. We've run out of time, unfortunately, but I don't know where the time went. Again, thank you again for being here, and it feels fun to play in your circle.
Thank you so much, my dear. It is an honor, a joy, and I'm just so happy to share this moment and this universe with you.
But before we go, tell us where we can get the books, tell us where we can get everything, and how can people contact you?
Okay, so the books are on Amazon. They're also in bookstores all over the place. So whatever country you're in on Amazon, they're in the other bookstores as well, but we don't need to list every single outlet, right? So you can get them there. You can go to my website, which is lumari.com. And I have free gifts that are meditations. Once you join the email list, then you can connect with me anyway. And, and that way you can email me. And if you want to schedule a consultation to see what it is, if you find a program that you think might be interesting. And when you're looking at your corporations and your business, if you want to play in these frequencies and really have a bigger vision for how you reach and uplift our world, then we can definitely have a conversation. And I'm just so delighted to share this with you, my dear. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also have something on the Mind Body Soul Festival speaker page for Lumari. So please go and check it out and join our Mind Body Soul Festival network, where you'll be able to discover more and more and more about Lumari. We're definitely having you back, Lumari, because I think the world needs to hear some of your some of the things that we haven't had a chance to discover and talk about. And I'm sure we're going to see you soon, shortly.
Oh, thank you so much, my dear. It's an honor and a joy. Thank you.